Hello everyone, today we'll be going through your novel book Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. Before we start, let's look at the author. So Kenneth Grahame was born on the 8th of March in 1859, who began his career by publishing stories in the London periodicals. He is known for publishing Wind in the Willows in 1908, and before the book was released, he was a secretary for the Bank of England and became a father. Some of his characters in the novel are based on real-life people and experiences, such as his son. By doing this, Grahame was able to create timeless stories that are still enjoyed today. So, what is the book about? Well, The Wind in the Willows is a young adult novel by the author Kenneth Grahame, which follows the adventures of the anthropomorphic animals, the mole, the rat, the badger, the toad, and their friends. So let's learn a little more about the characters. The mole is an extremely hard-working person and has literally been living under a rock his whole life. With his companion the rat, his curious personality leads them to encounter different characters and experience things he has never seen before. And well, the rat is the mole's best friend and is quite the opposite. The rat is experienced and has an extensive knowledge about the world they live in. He's generous and will always be there when help is needed. So the toad. The toad is boastful and is proud of his luxurious home at Toad Hall. He also has these weird obsessions which will eventually lead him to major trouble. Nonetheless, Toad is quite a comical but troublesome character. The badger hates society and likes to live in seclusion in an unwelcoming wild wood. He's shy but cares deeply for his friends. Now let's learn more about the book. The story begins with a hard-working Mr. Mole cleaning his home. He leaves his home and eventually meets his companion, the rat, at the river. While the rat introduces the animals dwelling by the river, we meet new characters, the otter, badger, and toad. Before returning home, a curious mole rows the boat and flips it over. However, the rat rescues the mole and forgives him and invites him to his cozy home. The mole meets the toad the next day, where he invites them onto a road trip. During their journey, a motorcar races by and the panicked horse drives the wagon into a ditch. Everyone tries to get the car out of the ditch except Toad, who sits there leisurely as if nothing happened. After the accident, Rat insists on filing a complaint to the police, but the arrogant Toad dismisses the rat's request and buys an expensive motorcar. So the curious mole wants to meet the badger. Alone, he ventures out into the wild wood where it is dark and eerie. Ominous footsteps are heard, but it is Mr. Rat who comes and rescues the mole. It snows and the two tirelessly search for the badger's home until they come across his doormat. Badger welcomes the disheveled companions and provides them food and shelter. The badger teaches the mole about the wild wood's history, a once lively but now menacing place. The rat and the mole start to miss home and set off to return to their welcoming and humble abodes. As the duo journey home, they end up visiting the mole's old home. The mole, embarrassed about the dilapidated home, is comforted by the rat. And as Christmas near, field mice greet the two with a carol and the animals have a wonderful feast together. So going back to our toad, our friends try to change his bad habits. However, Toad ends up stealing a motorcar and ends up being jailed for 20 years. We also learn about a young otter named Portly who has run away from home. In the search for Portly, the two meet a creature that has been protecting Portly. Upon returning home, Portly becomes frantic over the missing mythical creature who rescued him. What about the toad that stole the motorcar? Well, the jailer's daughter pities the toad and dresses him up as a washerwoman to help him escape. He ends up fleeing on a train and takes shelter in a tree. The rat is convinced by Sea Rat's adventures and begins to set out for sea. Luckily, Mr. Mole is able to break the spells of enchantment and persuades the rat to write poetry again. So what about the toad again? Well, after escaping jail, Toad persuades a woman into riding her boat, but is thrown overboard after insults are thrown at her. The owners of the motorcar that Toad previously stole rescued him. He drives the motorcar he stole and crashes it into a pond and ends up in the rat's home. Toad is informed of Toad Hall's invasion by wild wooders. However, Badger, the friend of Toad's father, reveals a secret passage to Toad Hall. It is here where the plan to reclaim it has begun. And after much quarrelling and combating, the plan was successful. Toad Hall has been reclaimed and the Toad holds a celebratory feast. Here, Toad experiences a change of character and rights all the wrongs he has done by writing appreciation letters. So what is the moral of the story? 1. Always value the importance of friendship. 2. Don't be like Mr. Toad. 3. Be kind and forgive people. And that is all for this novel summary. Thank you everyone, and I hope you can now read this novel with a better understanding of the book.